With the bye week now firmly in the rearview mirror of our NFC North leading 6-2 Detroit Lions, we have surpassed the halfway mark of this 2023 NFL season. The bye week was a beautiful thing, you guys. It couldn't have gone any better for the Lions. We had a big Monday night showdown against the Las Vegas Raiders. Came out of that with a big W. On top of that, the Raiders then fired their GM and head coach after the smackdown that we laid on them in prime time for the entire world to see. The Lions now had a week to sit, recuperate, get some guys healthy. We have some news coming out of practice. We will know more, though, as the week progresses. Things are ticking up for us. I'm also going to talk about the trade deadline. The Lions went out and brought in a former hometown hero. It's not quite who you were expecting, and by now the cat's out of the bag. Unfortunately, we were not able to acquire Mad Max Crosby after his electrifying performance Monday night against the Detroit Lions in Week 9. I will share my thoughts, though, on the acquisition of Donovan Peoples-Jones, DPJ. I really like this acquisition, and I think it means a couple of things for a couple of players moving forward in that wide receiver room for the Detroit Lions. I'll share my thoughts with that, as well as with the bye week. You guys might have noticed that I was gone, so stick around to the end of the video. I will share some updates that's been going on around here with me. But, you guys, let's get into it. This is the Hat and Beard Show.
Okay, let's go.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Hat and Beard Show, where the Bulldogs all have rubber teeth and the hens lay soft-boiled eggs. I, of course, am your hostess with the mostest, Hat and Beard, where my pronouns are savage and I identify as sexy. With me to my left is my co-host and Pick'em's extraordinaire, B-Rad. He'll be helping me hold down the fort today for you guys with our epic show that we got going on. Now that the introductions are out of the way, let's talk about the scores from around the league this Week 9 in the NFL season.
Let's talk about buttered sausage. Talk about buttered sausage, where it comes from, what it does. Why is it doing what it's doing? Get it out of my face. What about buttered sausage?
All right, guys, lightning fast. Let's go. Thursday night, the Steelers beat the Titans 20-16. Then we head over to Germany, where the Chiefs are going to beat up on the Dolphins 21-14. Minnesota sneaks out over the Falcons 31-28. Josh Dobbs coming in with a heroic performance. That looked awesome. The Bears fall to the Saints 24-17. The Packers are going ahead and beat the snot out of the Rams 20-3. The Rams did not have Matt Stafford and his big goofy white teeth. The Commanders are going to go ahead and beat the Patriots 20-17. The Ravens continuing their buzzsaw performances the last couple weeks. They just took the Seattle Seahawks to the woodshed. 37-3. The Ravens are ascending at the exact right time. They are starting to get electrifyingly hot. I talked about it last week's video. Lamar Jackson is legit. His transition this year is astonishing, and I think he needs to start to be talked about in the MVP contention this year. The Buccaneers fall to the Texans. CJ Stroud, I think he's thrown for 18 touchdowns and 1 interception this year. They go ahead and win 39-37 over the Buccaneers. I can't believe how just insane CJ Stroud has been playing. I mean, he's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. This guy is, oh, man, talk about just a stud, dude. And, you know, he's really breaking the Ohio State quarterback narrative where they can't play in the league. This guy is just, man, oh man, quite impressive. Quite impressive, CJ Stroud. I didn't think you were going to be this good, this fast, and you are just, it's almost like you got a chip on your shoulder for Bryce Young going number 1 overall. Browns shut out the Cardinals 27-0. The Colts going to beat the Panthers. Frank Reich heading back to his former team to play the Panthers, or I'm sorry, to play the Colts. The Panthers lose 27-13. Go ahead and chalk one up for Minshew Mania over there in Indianapolis. The Raiders going to go ahead and trounce the Giants with a 30-6 beat down. Antonio Pierce gets his interim first win as a head coach against his former team that he played for. That's a sweet little storyline to follow that I just thought was nice and interesting. The Eagles steal it from the Cowboys 28-23 in a relatively entertaining game. I think you're looking at two potential playoff teams right there. Obviously, Philly's sitting at number 1 in the NFC. They currently have the number 1 seed, and the Cowboys would be a wild card team. I think I'm not a Dallas Cowboys fan by any stretch of the imagination. I got friends who are hardcore fans. Demo, I'm looking at you. But I don't know if the boys are it right now. I mean, they're just following that trend, and I'm afraid that they're gonna hit December and the wheels are just gonna fall off. They might limp into the postseason at that last slot in the wild card. The Bengals continue to own the Bills. They're gonna win 24-18. Joe Burrow is starting to really earn all that money. And then in the Monday night game, our opponent this week, the Chargers, smashed the Jets 27-6. This has been Around the League with Hat and Beard. Hey, that was nice and quick. Quick enough. Quick as can be. Quick like a bunny. I'm doing all I can for you guys to try and not be yammering your ear off too hard. If you haven't already, do me a favor. Go ahead and smash like on the video if you like the content that I'm bringing to you. Comment down below what you think of the DPJ trade. Let's go ahead and talk about my thoughts on the Donovan Peoples-Jones acquisition, you guys. I think Brad Holmes stole a potential top 25 wide receiver if he reaches his ceiling. Donovan Peoples-Jones, 6'2", somewhere between 210, 215. We're just going to chalk him up at a median 213. So he's got a bigger frame, a little bit higher of a vertical, not necessarily as fast as, say, a J-Mo, but the man goes up and gets contested catches. I think over 4 seasons in Cleveland, he's gotten almost 1,800 yards and 18 touchdowns. I know there was a stretch there last season where he had, I think, 7 consecutive games over 50 yards receiving, but couldn't find the end zone. That's saying something, because last year, I think he had Jacoby Brissett throwing him the ball there in Cleveland. So Cleveland also has an incredibly run-heavy offense. DPJ wasn't really being utilized there. So Brad Holmes picks up the phone. Brad Holmes says, hey, I will give you a future, not this year, a 2025 6th-round pick for your former 6th-round pick, Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think he's going to be a good fit here. I think we got a great deal for him. And he furthers to continue the trend of bringing in hometown heroes to help establish that culture. He played here in Detroit at high school. I think it was like Cass High or something like that. Let me look it up real quick. Hold tight. So he played his high school ball at Cass Tech here in Detroit, and then he played his college ball for the University of Michigan. The dude's a homegrown, hometown kid, and now he's coming in to what could be viewed as a crowded wide receiver room. Obviously, Amon-Ra's the number one. There's no doubt about it. The guy is a top 5 wide receiver. Right now, Amon-Ra is a top 5 wide receiver, but you need to have a number 2. And our number 2 target right now is our rookie tight end, Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta has been great. Sam Laporta has been outstanding. Sam Laporta has been electrifying, and we've been lining him up wide and sometimes in the slot just to utilize his athleticism. Unfortunately, his ceiling is kind of capped at being a rookie. I'm not saying he can't continue to ascend. I'm saying that as a rookie, he's limited in his skill set and his abilities to both break down a defense and apply certain tendencies that he can pick up through the coaching. As the years progress, Sam Laporta will become much better at doing that. He's already shown his development over the first 9 weeks of the NFL season. So then you got to look at, well, who would be a number 2 wide receiver on the team? Marvin Jones Jr. had to leave the team for family reasons. Hearts, thoughts, prayers, everything goes out to the Jones family. The guy has been through a lot, and he unfortunately doesn't deserve the shake he's been given, man. It's just unfortunate to see bad things happen to good people. So then you go, okay, Marvin Jones is off the roster. Obviously, the number 2 wide receiver should be Jameson Williams, right? J-Mo should be our guy. But in the 4 games he's been out on the field, he has, 1 or 2 touchdowns and 79 yards receiving. Not necessarily the most productive numbers you want to see out of a former first-round draft pick that has a lot of hype around him. And unfortunately, as the weeks continue to go by and you only see flashes out of J-Mo, you don't see consistent productivity. The only thing consistent about J-Mo is he's going to drop 1 or 2 passes a game when he's wide open and it hits him in the hands. I don't know if it's a mental thing. I don't know if it's a physical thing. I really don't know what's going on with J-Mo. So obviously J-Mo, not your number 2, although he should be because he has all of the athleticism and ability. So then you say, okay, Steady Eddie, Mr. Safety Blanket himself, Josh Reynolds, right? J-Ray can come in, be your number 2 guy. He's longer, can go up and get contested catches. Same physical size as Donovan Peoples-Jones, maybe not as strong in the upper and mid sections of his body, but still fast, can jump. He gets most contested catches. His contract's expiring, and you can start to see that Josh Reynolds isn't necessarily where he was 2 years ago as far as his quickness on the field. That's no slight against him. That's just age catching up to you, brother. Khalif Raymond could be the next name on the docket. Khalif Raymond, punt returner extraordinaire, athletic freak. He is just a slightly smaller version of Amon-Ra St. Brown, right? When you have two of the same guy, it's kind of hard to distract the defense. You got to have more of a big-bodied physical wide receiver. Remember a few weeks ago when we got taken advantage of the Ravens when I was talking about their small wide receivers versus our big corners? We need to have a big wide receiver to go up and beat down and bully small corners. We already have small, speedy wide receivers. We need to have a big-bodied wide receiver. I'm not saying it's Calvin Johnson, but Calvin Johnson-esque, a big-bodied guy that can go up and get the ball, can be more of a red zone target. What do I think that this is signaling by Brad Holmes to the fandom, to the rest of the league? To the fandom and the rest of the league, I think it shows that Brad Holmes is willing to go out if it's the right fit, if it's the right personality, and it's what he thinks we need, and he can get a really good deal on it. He's going to go ahead and make that deal. He's not going to go ahead and throw out a second or third round pick as much as we would have wanted a Josh Sweat, as much as we would have wanted a Chase Young. That's just not going to happen. Brad Holmes loves himself some draft capital, and you can see it as every single draft class continues to get better and better and better. We get more and more players that are in impactful roles. Look at just this last draft class. Our first 4 picks, all highly productive players, all incredibly productive, very important players. I mean, shit. 2 of them are starters, and the other 2 are rotationary players. And I'm not even saying rotationary in a bad way. I'm saying that Jack Campbell and Brian Branch play on very specific rotations that they're in. So they're basically a starter, right? They're basically a starter. You look at it top down, you're not going to, I guess you could say Jahmyr Gibbs isn't the starter either. Although right now he is with David Montgomery being out. So what do I think this means? What do I think that Brad Holmes is actually signaling to the players, fandom, and the NFL? I think he's signaling that, J-Mo, you need to get your shit together, bud. No more drop passes. We supported you. We drafted you while you were injured. We supported you through the suspension. We need to see productivity. If you're not going to produce, I'm going to go drop a 6th-round pick on some guy that grew up right around the corner from us and has been way more productive as a 6th-round pick than you ever have been as a 1st-round pick. Do I want J-Mo to bust? No, I don't want J-Mo to bust. I want J-Mo to fucking explode, man. I want him to go off and be exactly what we've seen at Alabama. I just haven't seen it yet. I've seen flashes, bruv. I've seen flashes, and I know I can throw metrics at it. He's only played so many snaps, and when you break down his targets versus touchdowns, he's actually catching more touchdowns on a target base than Justin Jefferson is. I get that. That's fine, but I need to see it regularly there, bud. I need to see it more consistently out of you. And if you're not going to do that, then we're going to have to go get a guy that can be reliable for us, who can catch 5 of 7 targets, right? Who can go up for the ball, who can, unfortunately, I hate to say this because it's the one thing you can't coach in sports is speed. But I need a guy that's more than just a one-trick pony who can run really fast downfield. With our limited run game, and I know Gibbs was highly productive against the Raiders, but with our limited run game not having the bruiser David Montgomery right now healthy, he could be coming back. We'll see as the week progresses. But David Montgomery being banged up right now, you lose the play action deep pass that J-Mo is essentially expert at, the big trick that he's got. So you're not going to hit him on slants. He doesn't have the balls to go across the middle. He alligator arms passes when a safety's coming after him. And when he's wide open on screens, he drops it. I can't have that, man. So bring in DPJ. I love it. I love the Donovan Peoples-Jones trade. I think it's a perfect acquisition. I think it's exactly what our wide receiver room was missing. I hope he will be a really good fit, and I hope he continues the same trend that we brought in with Aiden Hutchinson of homegrown, hometown heroes, helping right the ship in the way that they know how because they grew up in the backyard. All right, so now that the bye week's over, we need to address kind of where the team is at. I'm not going to get real hard into the analytics and details and statistics of it. We're just going to kind of have a generalization discussion over it. One, the team needs to get healthy. And I'm not saying there's a lot of injuries. I'm just saying that the players we have injured, Frank Ragnow, Jonah Jackson, David Montgomery, you could even throw CJ GJ in there because maybe he could make a comeback for the playoffs. But we need to get healthy. It's been rather evident that our interior offensive line has had a significant blow with Jonah Jackson being gone. We've had a rotationary player of either Graham Glasgow or Awoska or Colby Sorsdahl. Unfortunately, against the Raiders, but fortunately, Graham Glasgow is enough of a vet that he was able to slide over to center and play very well in replacement of Frank Ragnow, something that is unsettling to see Frank Ragnow. If Frank Ragnow is out, you know it's a hell of an injury. That dude played with a broken neck like 3 years ago, dude. That's insane, okay? So get the big hog volleys up front healthy, okay? I need Jonah Jackson and Frank Ragnow to get healthy. I need them to be right and ready because now that the bye week's over, we're looking at potentially 12 more weeks of football. I know it's 9 weeks of the regular season, 3 playoff games. It's a possibility. It's a possibility we're looking at a number 1 seed with a first-round bye. I'll take a number 2 seed. That gives us 2 playoff games at home. Let's not talk too much about playoffs yet. Let's talk about the health of the team. Let's talk about getting our big guys up front healthy. And really, the linchpin, and it's been evident, 3 games. We lost against Seattle because he went out, David Montgomery. And then we struggled against the Ravens without David Montgomery. Our team needs, and it's how we played with Jamal Williams, and it's how we play with David Montgomery. We need that bruiser, okay? We need that banger of a big-bodied back to deliver a blow. Against the Ravens, I didn't think Jahmyr Gibbs was that guy. I didn't think he had enough lead in his ass to run between the tackles. Against the Raiders, my tune's completely changed. I've seen a lot out of Jahmyr Gibbs. I was rather impressed with the production out of Jahmyr Gibbs. I thought he was much more of a physical runner than we gave him credit for because a lot of his highlights out of college were being utilized more as a scat back, not a power back. And I got to hand it to him. He put his big boy pants on, and he really stepped up against a meat grinder of a defense. Okay, the Raiders have a really staunch defense. We seen how it played out. We didn't put that game away until the very end. Their defense single-handedly kept them in that game, okay? It wasn't pretty for us on offense, but you get Monty back, you get the big bodies up front back, you get your power back, okay? Then you start working the clock. Then you see the Lions, how they were playing the first 4 weeks of the year where we were just burning the clock off, right? We were eating so much clock and doubling up plays, dude. We were forcing their offense to play. We were forcing the opposing offense to essentially play hurry-up style and just throw the ball because their time was so limited. And when you're making them force plays, not follow the script or the design of how their offense is supposed to work, you end up with a chaotic situation. Our defense ends up looking really, really good, and our offense walks away with a win. That's how that ends up going. Get the big bodies up front, grind the clock out. Secondly, we need to play better complementary football. What do I mean? Well, complementary football. Our offense, defense, and special teams all need to complement each other. Special teams, well, I'm going to tell you something that Coach Knuckle told me a long time ago, back when we were playing with leather helmets and going home reading about candlelight, fellers. Special teams has to be special. Special teams has to be special. Special teams has to be special. We have the best punter in the league with Jack Fox, okay? He is the Lions field relocation specialist, and the dude is the best punter in the league. Riley Patterson. I'm not going to knock you too hard, bud. You missed 1 field goal. It was a chipper. And you should have chipped it in. You let me down on that one, bud. But you know what? You've been doing great. I know you don't have the biggest leg, bud. I know you don't have the biggest leg. You ain't going to kick 56-yarders. I know that's not going to happen. I know that's not your game, dude. But the chippers you got to hit. I'm not upset with Riley Patterson's performance this year. I wish he had a bit bigger of a leg, and I wish he would have hit that 1 chipper against the Raiders. Would have just made me feel a little bit better. Our punt return game has been relatively solid with Khalif Raymond. I'd really like him to see, he's been like 1 or 2 blocks away from springing a punt return. And if we could just get 1 or 2 more hats on a man and really be a little bit more cerebral about our punt return game, Khalif Raymond might actually be a potential Pro Bowl candidate if he ups that average a little bit, it can get into the end zone once or twice. That would just be sensational. Special teams has to be special. Our offense and defense have to play complementary football, just like I was explaining to you a second ago. Aaron Glenn has been getting a lot of hype after his performance against the Raiders, okay? Our defense coordinator, Aaron Glenn. I like Aaron Glenn. I like our defense, but I'm going to be real honest with you here, guys. Our defense is phony. Our defense is phony, and our defense is lucky that Ben Johnson is the smartest offensive coordinator in football. Ben Johnson has utilized our offense to maximize our defense. How do I mean that? Exactly what I said a second ago. What do I mean? I mean our offense has to continue to maintain control of the clock, wear down the opposition's defense, keep our defense off the field. When our defense is off the field, we play a heavy rotational front four. Our defense is staying very, very fresh, and we're also forcing the opposing team's offense to essentially abandon the run game. We do have an improved rushing defense. I'll give you that. We have a much better rush defense than we had last year. So you force the opposing team's offense to play against a staunch rush D, okay, and then you take away the clock management ability for them to sit on the ball and just chip their way down the field like we do with the run game, and you force opposition's defense to throw the ball. You then can let Hutch pin his ears back, get a lot of pressures. I know his sacks haven't really been where we wanted them to be. Would that be better if James Houston was still on the field? I think so. I think James Houston and Hutch complemented each other really, really well with their ferocious rush style. But you can have Hutch pin his ears back, and your DBs know what's going on. There's no play action. There's no maybe once in a while you'll see a draw pulled off, but you're going to see teams have to start throwing the ball. And our corners, our safeties, they already know what's coming. They can play in a soft, too high zone. They can sit back and wait for the other team's offense to make mistakes because they're forced to make plays fast right now, big chunks, because Ben Johnson coordinates an offensive game plan that limits the amount of times that the opposition gets their crack at it, which covers up the deficiencies of our defense and makes Aaron Glenn look like a far better defensive coordinator than I actually think he is. I'm not saying he's bad. I just don't think he's exactly what some people are making him out to be. That's what I mean about complementary football. We need to complement one another. So what do I think about moving forward? The rest of the season, play complementary football, get everyone healthy. I've been saying it for weeks now. And I'm almost glad that we haven't quite hit our groove yet. This team is leaving a lot on the field. We're leaving points on the field. We're leaving plays on the field. If we make these plays, we get these points. When we start doing this, we start to become a complete unit. When we start to become a complete unit, then we're going to be even better than we are now, and we're going to start really rocking skulls, dude. We're going to start dropping teams. If we start putting it all together, it's going to look like what Baltimore's been doing to teams, guys. If we start to click over the next 2 or 3 weeks, that puts us right into December where we're playing our best ball. If we're heading into December playing our best ball as Kings of the North, fighting for a 1 or 2 seed in the playoffs. Look, guys, I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm going to tell you this. If the playoffs started right now, today, nobody wants to come to Detroit. The Super Bowl runs through Detroit, and nobody wants to come here. I think Philly would even have their hands full playing the Lions at home. I think Philly's the best team in the NFL right now. They're obviously the best team in the NFC, arguably the best team in all of football. They do have their deficiencies, and we as Lions fans are starting to see the shortcomings of DeAndre Swift and how he can't really perform after week 4. Enjoy that. But I think the Lions are the second best team in the NFC. So if we went into the playoffs, a 1 seed would be great. A 1 seed would be great. You get the first round bye, and then you get a home field advantage, right? That means the division and the NFC title game is played at Ford Field, right? You get a number 2 seed, hey, the wild card, the division, potentially the NFC championship game, right? Potentially. Maintain home field advantage. Keep winning, keep climbing, keep ascending. Put everything together, play complementary football. It all comes together right in December and January, right when the playoffs start. If you thought this team was rocking and rolling beforehand, oh man, you ain't seen nothing yet. My biggest fear is that we come out of the bye week flat, but I don't think Motor City Dan Campbell and company is going to allow that to happen. I think he's going to really continue to show why he should be coach of the year. All right, so that's all I want to talk about the Detroit Lions. You guys, if you made it this far, I really do appreciate it. So I'm just gonna let you know. I'm just gonna spiel it all out. I didn't upload last week. I wanted to, but Monday night, I had Monday night off to watch the game, and so we have 6 pets, right? We have 3 cats and 3 dogs, and 2 of the dogs are older. One was 14 and one is like 15-ish. I'm not exactly sure how old Shadow is. And then we got a geriatric cat, but then we also have 2 young cats, Bjorn and Ivor. And then we brought Kira home, our other new dog, like a little over a year ago. So she's like a year and a half, maybe 2 years old. And we're very animal people. Okay, I know. Whatever. And Monday, I got home from the store at like 3:30, and I took Braxton and Kira outside, and everything was fine. Me and Kira played in the yard a little bit. Braxton was off doing his thing. Found a spot to roll in, was rolling, seemed just happy as could be. We came inside, it was totally fine. Everybody was acting normal. And then like 5:30-ish, we were getting dinner around for the dogs, and Braxton just started acting weird. And I was sitting there, and I could just hear, like, okay, so we got to separate the animals, right? Because Shadow doesn't play well with other dogs because I didn't socialize him right when he was a puppy. That's my bad, whatever. So Kira and Braxton live on one half of the house, and Shadow lives on the other half. And the half that Kira and Braxton live on has linoleum, and I could hear Braxton's feet just click clacking, but not like he's walking. Like something was wrong. And Kira was freaking out, like she was just freaking out, right? And so I went to their side, and I'm like, "Hey, what the fuck's going on?" And God damn, Fred just looked at me, and his eyes were like fucking spinning in his head, dude. And he kept fucking flailing his head around, like he was trying to watch as the world spun by him. And all 4 of his limbs were just not cooperating. They just were going every which way, right? I knew something was wrong, and she knew something was wrong. So anyway, last Monday we had to say goodbye to Braxton, and it was really sad. He was a really good boy. He's one of the happiest dogs I've ever met. So I was kind of sad, and I just didn't feel like uploading. So that's what happened there. But we're doing good. We're doing all right now. It was rough. He wasn't my dog. He was her dog. But there was a point a few years back where Shadow couldn't live with me because, well, I was a piece of shit and I got evicted from my house. I lost my job and I got evicted from my house because I'm an asshole. So Shadow went and lived with my parents for a little bit, and I moved in with my girlfriend, and Braxton was always there for me when Shadow couldn't be. So, I loved him a lot. He was a good boy. But he's in a better place, and he doesn't hurt anymore. So, god damn. Fucking pathetic, dude. Anyway, the Lions won for him. He was really excited to watch the game. But on a plus note, get it together. But on a plus note, we did bring home a new puppy. She was a bit of a sob story, and it just kind of worked out. Anyway, so now we got back to 6. Back to 6. Made it less than a week. And we had to get back to 6, but the pack got bigger, and we brought home our new puppy, and her name is Torvi, and she is just the sweetest little thing you've ever seen. So now I have 2 little baby girls that I get to play with, and it's cool. We love her a lot. I love her a lot. She's a good girl. And, obviously it's not like I'm trying to replace one dog with the other, but anyway, that's going to do it for me. Have a good rest of your day. Stay out of trouble, guys. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Keep your stick on the ice. If she doesn't find you handsome, at least she'll find you handy. Stick around. I'm going to upload a preview for the upcoming game against the Chargers on Thursday. Have a good rest of your night. Stay out of trouble, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.